Item 8, to select a day and time for conducting regular county commissioners meeting for 2023.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
I would like to make a motion that we adopt the recommendations for the first and third Wednesdays and the date subsequent. However, moving the meeting times from 4:30 to 6 p.m.
you will have a second.
I would second the discussion.
Okay, any discussions?
We have
Commissioner Clark?
folks that work all day here and come to our meetings in the evening to provide information and useful material to this commission. I think it is more appropriate for them to be able to get here without cooling their heels for an hour and a half. And I think it's the 4:30 has worked really well, and I'm going to continue to support the 4:30 meeting.
Any other discussion?
Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair. One of the reasons I'm sitting in this seat is my district is expecting a greater say in the decision-making process, and in particular, looking at the time in which we conduct these proceedings. I cannot tell you how many times constituents that put me in this seat have said 4:30 is not acceptable. There is a reason why municipalities and select board meetings across the state are in the evening. There is a reason why Cumberland County, our fellow commissioners in Cumberland County meet at 5:30. Even that's pretty early. Most select board meetings are 6:30, 7 o'clock even. What we are talking about right now is an opportunity to make York County Commission meetings the most accessible meetings in the entire state at 6 p.m. Every other county commission is earlier than that. Average working Mainers should have an opportunity to have a say in how their government is run. That's who we represent. I think they should be filling this hall. And obviously that doesn't negate our responsibility as commissioners to connect the dots for our constituents, to give them a reason why they should show up. So just changing the meeting time isn't going to suddenly make hundreds of people participate. I think we still have to do that, our due diligence, but we're giving them a greater opportunity to participate in these proceedings. And on principle, I think that is critically important. So this is not necessarily a long-term solution. We can try this out for a year. Maybe 6 o'clock isn't sufficient. Maybe it's 6:30. Maybe it's even 7. We need to collect additional data points, continue to talk to our constituents, and promote a new meeting time that's more accessible to the folks that we serve.
Commissioner Ray?
I've been an employee for the county since I believe it was 1979. And I attended every commissioner meeting throughout 40 years. The first 30 years of my employment, the meetings were held at 7 o'clock at night. We did have special meetings every now and then on a Saturday, but our meetings were held at 7 o'clock at night. There were meetings that were not well attended, but it's during our budget meetings, during the budgetary time of the year, they were very well attended. We were in the Superior Courtroom, and it was full. So since I have, in the last probably 8 to 10 years, it's been at 4:30. There hasn't been a lot of attendance by the public, and we are here to answer to the public and to let the public know what's going on. I would like to try a later meeting just to see if we can't get a little more interest and have the public here. I understand it might be a little more difficult for employees, but we don't answer to them. We are here to notify and let the public know what's going on. And I think we should give them that opportunity.
Mr. Andrews and Commissioner Clark.
I don't know if there's any record of why we went from a later time to 4:30. Donna, do you know anything about that?
I think it was more convenience than anything else. I don't know. Do you remember when they did that?
I was elected in 2000. Well, I was
And they were
appointed in 2006. Already at 4.
I believe it was a matter of convenience for the administration. I don't think there wasn't a lot of attendance, but in my understanding, if I remember correctly, it was more convenience than it was anything else. And when a new board came in, it was easier for the new board at 4:30. So, and I think that's how it turned around.
Commissioner Clark?
I have attended public hearings in the State House where bills are being considered, which required me to take a day out of work, travel to Augusta, submit 15 copies of my comments, and return home. I've attended meetings of the Maine Public Utilities Commission when I had an issue before them, which were held in Augusta during business hours, and I attended. I have served in municipal and county government for 24 years. I have always made myself available to my constituents through phone, email. They can come up and knock on my door, and some of them have. We are available to people over Zoom. We are available to people if they wish to come in person. I certainly respect democracy. I respect public participation, but I don't think that moving this to 6 o'clock serves any useful purpose, and I will remain opposed to that. It functioned reasonably well for some time at this level, and that's where I am.
Commissioner Andrews?
Although I recognize that there's a interest in moving it to a later time, believing that we will pick up more interest from the community. I really don't see that would really happen. We're going to just change it and make it difficult for our county employees and people that are going to mostly be involved in these meetings. So I don't see a real benefit for us to change the time from 4:30.
I'll put my 2 cents in. I debated which way I want to go. I've had only one letter, an email since a person wanted to be at 6 o'clock. And all the other people I've talked in the streets said that 4:30 is no problem. The other point I'm going to make is that we've already tried this to go a different time. I think it was 5:30 or 6 o'clock, and nothing changed. There wasn't any the involvement or other people in the audience wasn't that it did not increase. Let's put it that way. So it's hard for me to say let's go to 6 o'clock. 5 o'clock probably I would probably say okay, but 6 o'clock I would be against. That's my take.
Mr. Chair. You know, I'm open for discussion on what time we think is best. I mean, if we feel like we need to adjust the 6 o'clock motion to 5:30 even, we can talk about that. I would just like to make a note that 4:30 is not really 4:30. Because if you have to travel, not just within York County, but if you're working in Portland or anywhere else, 4:30 becomes 3:30, 3 o'clock even, in order to get to Alfred. Now, folks can tune in from home, but they have to make it home in order to tune in. So 4:30 is not really 4:30. And I've seen this body consistently move earlier into the afternoon for special workshops. We had a ceremony at 4 o'clock in the afternoon today. And so I've seen meetings at 3 o'clock, 3:30 even. So we have to be mindful of that creeping earlier and earlier in the day when folks are working. And Commissioner Clark is right, the legislature does do that, but we have an opportunity right now to vote how we think the meeting should be scheduled for us. We're not the legislature, we meet twice a month. We could absolutely change the meeting time. And just because constituents have to take off for the legislature or for Congress, doesn't mean we need to force our constituents to take off work to be here at these meetings. I think that's a false narrative. So I think we need to put our constituents first. This is the #1 issue in my district is the meeting times. They would like to be in this meeting. They would like to show up. They would like to participate. And by denying them the opportunity to do so, we're denying them participation in their government. That is a big principle that we're going to deny if we don't support some later time than 4:30 in the afternoon for average working manners to participate. I think we owe it to our constituents to at least try.
Any other further discussion?
Well, would it be possible that perhaps even try it for 6 months at a little later time? Even people that are traveling home on a Zoom, they can get home for 4:30 to get onto their computer to Zoom in on the meetings. It's usually over by the time they get home. So, I mean, I would like to see a later time. Perhaps we could compromise on the 6th, as Justin said, till 5:30. But I really do think that we need to have a later meeting, at least try it. 6 months, if we want, but I think we need to afford this opportunity to our constituents.
I respect your inputs. But we did already try a different time for 6 months and didn't work out any better. That's my point. Yeah, we tried it before,
Times have changed and there might be more participation.
but when Commissioner Cody was chairperson, which was only a year or 2 years ago, we tried it and the attendance wasn't increased at all. It was about the same thing, so. I have a tough time to change this. Put it that way. Okay,
Mr. Chair, I'm happy to, if the seconder is willing, I'm happy to withdraw the motion and put forward a compromise time. If we can at least adjust it in line with our counterparts in Cumberland County, that puts us in line with them. I see no reason why we couldn't at least align ourselves with our neighboring county. But I mean, even a half an hour later, makes it a little bit easier for folks to make it after work. So if any of the other commissioners are open to that compromise, open to that suggestion, I'm again, with the seconder's permission, happy to withdraw my motion and put forward a different motion.
your second, okay, it's been moved. So what is your recommendation? In your 5 o'clock?
I would prefer 5:30. Is there any support on the board for 5:30?
I don't think you'll have a majority for 5.
Okay, well, let's try 5 o'clock. I'll make a motion for 5 o'clock and continue the rest of the recommendations from the county manager.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? The 5 o'clock compromise acceptable for discussion.
I can accept the 5 o'clock. I believe that wouldn't put too much of a burden on our county employees that are involved. But I really would only go there as in the spirit of compromise for this.
And my point is, this is gonna be temporary for 6 months. And after 6 months, we're gonna review it. And if the participation is not increased, then we'll go back to the original 4:30. Okay, I think that's a fair way of doing it. Okay, moving second to change the meeting times to 5 o'clock. All in favor? Against? One against, Commissioner Clark.